Gentlemen, let me bring out the one and only Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista! Woo! Woo! I can't get up. How amazing is this beautiful man?
Hey guys.
Yay. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Forgive me if I'm a little disheveled. I just found out like 20 minutes ago that I had a panel. I've been really like hectically busy lately, and so I'm really.
It's all right. It's not that many people, Dave. Come on, get it together.
Well, I don't know if everybody realizes this, but I have horrible stage fright.
Oh.
Yeah, it's.
All right. So what's going to? You're
like,
all
you
going to have
pan-
to get naked, so we feel comfortable
everybody
here.
get naked. To make me comfortable, you all get naked.
Exactly. Or just do it anyway. Dave, I'm a big bloody fan. You're amazing. One of the coolest things that I've learned about you is that you don't like hanging out in your comfort zone. One of my mottos growing up was dream the life, live the dream. And I'm always going, pursue your passion and follow your bliss because life's too short not to.
Right.
So how did you come to that belief system? How did you arrive at that?
I think it was, it's something I learned. It was like a process, but I learned that it was a desperation thing. It was something I was very comfortable in my life that I was living until I was almost 30 and realized that I had absolutely nothing to show for it. And so it took for me to pursue wrestling. It took me, put me in that uncomfortable spot of borrowing money from everybody I knew and packing my stuff up and moving out of state to go to a place that was odd and foreign to me and pursue a career that I knew nothing about. But I was really, I didn't get into wrestling because I was an enormous fan. I got into wrestling because I wanted to make money. And then as I started wrestling, I found out that I would do this for free because I loved it so much. And it's been like that for me with everything, especially for acting. I got into acting. I wanted to pursue acting because I found out how bad I was at it. Yeah. No, it's a true story.
But you're amazing.
No, I was horrible.
Come on.
But it's a true story. I was with WWE at the time, and I went and did a film. I had zero interest in acting. All I wanted to do was wrestle. I loved wrestling. I was obsessed with wrestling. And I went and did a film as a favor for a friend, and I realized that I was horrible. I was a horrendous actor. I was so mortified that I wanted to prove that I could be better, and the company, they wouldn't let me do anything outside the company. I was stuck within the company wrestling, and I wanted to pursue acting. And they said, sorry, we need you here. We need you on the shows. And I said, well, if you're not going to let me pursue something that I'm really passionate about, then I'm going to leave. And so about 8 months later, I walked out the door, and they didn't think I was going to, and I walked out on top. And I was very comfortable. I was making a very good living. And I walked out, and then I starved for 3 years. I went broke. I lost everything. I couldn't get a job. And I said that I will never go back to wrestling until I prove what I set out to prove, and that was that I could make it as an actor. And then I got the role in Guardians. And when I got the role in Guardians, I finished the film. And the first call I made after I wrapped was to Vince McMahon. I said, hey, man, I'd really like to come back and wrestle for a little bit.
Yes. Man. I love Guardians for so many different reasons, but one really cool thing about it for me personally is that one of my compadres, Ben Browder, who played Crichton in Farscape, joined you guys for the second one, and he actually had to be covered from head to toe in paint, and I was like, suck it! Yeah. Now you know the pain. But it was funny, because like on Farscape, they'd pull us all in, and all our makeups were like 3.5 hours every day, so we'd get picked up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and Ben and Claudia would breeze in, 10 minutes before call time, looking amazing. We're like, Frau, you!
Yeah. That was Pratt.
Yeah.
Like Pratt, we're all like Zoe and Karen, and we've all been there for hours, and this guy comes in, and he steps into his trailer for like 10 minutes and gets fluffed and gets his hair fluffed and gets a fake tan and rolls out the set looking beautiful.
Up.
And we're all already exhausted, and we've been there for hours, and we smell like paint and just stinky and sticky, and this guy comes in, Star-Lord.
Daisy.
Hey, Star-Lord, welcome to set.
had some good stuff to work with by the time you arrived, and you're all like, "Grr." How long was the makeup procedure? Was it all airbrush?
No, it was God. So the first film was a nightmare, and I actually, when I look back, I don't know how I did it because I was in the chair in the morning. Well, I wasn't in the chair because I stood. It was 4 to 6 hours.
No.
But it was because it was a different process than they used in the second film and then also on Avengers. And so on the second film in Avengers, it only took about an hour and a half. But the issue was getting it off, and they didn't know how to get it off for the first film. But they discovered that if they stick me in a sauna long enough, it kind of starts to melt off.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I did. Every night I sat in the sauna for about an hour with about 3 other guys, like peeling this makeup off. It was awful. Like, it was disgusting.
Hey, guys.
And then so after a 12-hour day, you spend an hour in the sauna, and it sounds like it might be relaxing. It's not. Like 10 minutes in the sauna is relaxing.
So over it.
An hour in the sauna is torture. So I leave every night like just dehydrated, and so the next day I'm starting an uphill battle, just But at least I look like shredded on the film.
Agreed. Do your kids know that you're a superhero, that you're saving the galaxy every day when you go to work?
My son is 11, and he's the one that would be like really into this stuff.
Yeah.
And he could just care less.
Really?
Just doesn't care.
Like, I'm just off to save, the
he
galaxy.
just does. Well, I think he just, he grew up with it. He grew up with me. He was that little kid who used to come to wrestle with me, and he'd play around the wrestling ring. And he grew up around all the WWE superstars. And I think he's just kind of oblivious. He's a normal kid. He's not spoiled at all. But I think he just would rather me be home. I think he would rather me spend more time with him. Yeah. And I don't think the only time he came I did a film called Final Score. And he came to London with me. And this is the first time that I ever saw him take an interest in my acting career. But I did this really emotional scene. And I came off a set, and he grabbed my hand, and he said, "Good job, Dad." Yeah, I know. I'm going to start crying. But that was the first time I could really see that he was proud of me. Yeah.
It's very special. It's a whole nother level, isn't it? I didn't know whether we were sitting on the fence about babies, and then I got to that age. I'm like, well, it's now or never, buddy.
Yeah.
So now we've got a 5-month-old little Skywalker.
Good for you.
And I'm telling you, it's next level. Achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
We're going to take questions from you guys. And we're starting over here. Where are we? Where's the microphones? Hello? 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 While the guys are coming forward, Dave, how cool is it to exist in the Marvel universe?
It's surreal. It's weird. I've been asked a lot. So I've been asked a lot about Avengers and how I feel about being in Avengers and Endgame, biggest movies of all time. And I've had to tell people that I've really removed myself from it because I don't feel like I'm attached to it. It doesn't feel like a real thing. And I'm barely in the film anyway. But as a fan, it's a big deal. Has everybody seen Endgame? Was everybody else depressed for like 4 days? I just sat, I was in D.C. I was on a tour for a film I did called Stuber. And I was in D.C., and so Disney set up for me to go and have a screening. And after the film, I sat there and I waited for the after credit scene. And it never came. So then I sat there for like 30 more minutes just feeling crushed. And then I went back to my hotel room, and my family, I'm from D.C., so my family and friends, they wanted to go out, and I said, I just don't feel like it. And then I woke up the next day, and I went and I sat in the bathroom, and I just turned on the faucet and the tub.
Stared at the water.
And I just sat there for hours. And I don't know, I was just processing it, and I'm just devastated. Like it's like an era is gone. Like I felt like, I'm 50 years old, but I felt like my childhood was ripped away.
Whoa.
Like I felt like my innocence was lost. I felt like devastated. Does anybody else feel like that? But at the same time, it's like, it's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. So it's like, it was an odd thing to process. But God bless the Russo brothers, they killed it.
They really did. It was amazing. We're going to start with questions over here.
Hi, My name is Ridge, and I'm just wondering if you were
Your name's
disappointed-
Ridge?
Yeah, like the
That's
mountain.
so cool.
Right? I'm just wondering if you were
Ridge.
disappointed at all that you weren't able to Bautista bomb Thanos.
Yeah, I'm upset about it as well. Yeah, I wish I could have played a bigger part in the second film, and I wish I could have had that epic battle, with Thanos, just a one-on-one with Drax. I probably would have gotten my ass whipped. It's weird. I don't know. Like, Drax is such a badass, but he always seems to get his ass whipped. And honestly, I mean, come on, man. God bless the Avengers. They're all tough guys, but come on, hey. I mean, if it came down to it, if they threw us all, like me and all the Avengers in a room and said only one of you's coming out alive, not a chance. But yeah, I never got that chance, man. But.
And some questions over here in the center aisle.
Hi there. My question was, if you had the opportunity to play one other character in the Marvel Universe, who would you choose?
Well, I used to say it was the Hulk until, and I know I'm going to be excluded, but the Black Panther's, he's so badass. Like just the Black Panther's, I know it's not a chance, but dream big. Yeah, but the suit and I love his style of fighting. Like that's the kind of superhero I'd want to be. So, yeah.
Dave, we're over here. We're everywhere. Hey, guys. Oh, there's not a microphone over there? Okay. Just back to the middle. Oh, here. Oh, you're everywhere. You really are. There you go.
Hi, my name is Tracy.
Hey.
I just wanted to say it took me a minute to realize that was you in What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
And I loved it,
Yeah.
and I was wondering if you're ever going to get out of that room and we're going to get to see you again, because that was awesome.
I hope so, because I love the show. Let me tell you how that came about, and I'm sorry if I make this a long story. But I was doing a film called My Spy, and the film was a friend of mine, an actress named Kristen Shaw. And she was friends with Jermaine Clement. But anyway, we wrapped on the film, and I said, I'm going home. Kristen said, I got to stay in Toronto a few more days. And I said, why? She said, well, I'm doing an episode of What We Do in the Shadows. I said, no way. I said, you're kidding. I said, tell Taika if he can squeeze me in, I don't care what the part is, I will do it for free.
Oh, my gosh. That's
So,
amazing.
so I get home the next day, so I get home on a Thursday. I get a call from my agent. My agent says, hey, did you say something about doing What We Do in the Shadows for free? I said, yes. He said, don't ever say that again. He said, I swear to God. And he says, well, they want you to fly back tomorrow. I said, man, I can't. I just got home. And so anyway, they worked out so I could fly back Sunday, which is why I didn't have fangs. They didn't have time to make me fangs, because I didn't fly back on Friday and get my fangs. So I flew back Sunday, did my thing on Monday, had the greatest time. I'm just a huge fanboy, but actually also developed a relationship with Taika, who I love and respect very much. I wanted to be in the circle, that circle, because I love those guys. I love what they do in the original mockumentary. I'm a huge fan of. So anyway, sorry, I made that really long, but that is the answer.
It was worth it.
Very
this
proud
is
of that
amazing.
part. Yeah.
Now we're over here.
Hi, my name is Walker. I just was wondering what led to your decision to ultimately retire from pro wrestling and the WWE this year at WrestleMania, and
Right.
why go out against Triple H specifically?
Well, oh man, that's a story. Well, I'm retired because I'm old. But I've been wanting to retire. So I wanted my last run to be extended in 2014. I had to leave because I had to promote Guardians. It was an obligation. I wanted to go back and do some more with them and retire. I've always wanted to retire against Triple H, and I'll make this as short as possible. But Triple H made me a star in that company. He put me over 3 times clean. It made my career. And I always felt that the best way I could say thank you would be to give it back to him, because he never had the chance. He put me over, we went our separate ways, we never worked together again. And I wanted to go back and give him that win, because it was just it's a pro wrestling thing. It's my way to say thank you. It's also my way to go out on my back, because I leave, he's still there. So he's got that win over me. So it was a personal thing, but I wanted to retire years ago, and I've tried to make this match happen for years. It just, because of my schedule, his schedule, injuries and whatnot, just didn't work. So this year at WrestleMania was a storybook ending of my career. I'm very proud of it. And it's weird because neither of us, I hadn't been in the ring in 5 years. And Triple H and I did not train together before that match. So considering what we accomplished, I'm really proud of it, because it could have been a little better, but it could have been a lot worse. And I feel like we had a really, really great, solid match that deserved to be on that card. And I'm proud of the way I went out. And I'm proud of my wrestling career.
What was your audition like, or did you just have to interview for Guardians, or did you have to go through the whole audition process?
It was a
were you
nightmare.
nervous?
Oh my God, I was terrified. Yeah, I was terrified. It was, and because, well, again, I have a tendency of making short answers like really long.
Go for it.
But I like to tell the whole story, because so people can get an idea of how much it meant and what I went through to get it. But anyway, I was really desperate at the time. I'd hardly worked in 3 years. I'd gone broke. I'd lost all my money from wrestling. And I was desperate to get a job. I finally got an agent. I got an agent like 2 weeks before I got the audition for Guardians.
Wow.
And my agent says, you know, I really had to fight you to get you this audition. I was really hard to get. You know, they didn't want to audition you. They didn't want to see any pro wrestlers. And but anyway, so I don't want to get your hopes up, but you know.
Nice way to go into it. Thanks, buddy.
He built my hopes like really low. So I went in with low expectations. But I went in, and I didn't understand Drax. I called my acting coach, said, I don't get this. I don't get the sides. This makes no sense to me. And he flipped out, because he's like the biggest fanboy. He was like, oh my God, this is a break you've been waiting for. Yes. Anyway, so he made me do a little research, and I found one picture of Drax. There's been a lot of variations of Drax, but I found one, and I said, that looks like me. I know, I get that. I know that picture. I can relate to that. And then, so anyway, he babied me through this whole process. And my first and second audition, my acting coach came with me. He was like holding my hand like a little baby.
Here we go.
Come on, Dave. Come on, you can do it.
I think
So I went and I read for Sarah Finn, and she's amazing. I don't know if you guys are, yeah, Sarah Finn, she does all the casting for Marvel. She's amazing. So I read with her, and she said, don't be nervous, just take your time, we can stay here all day. And I read for her and did my audition, and she said, is there any way you can come back tomorrow and read for the director? And then it became like real, and then I was like, oh yeah, of course I can. So I stayed in LA, because I flew out from Tampa, but I stayed in LA, and I came back the next day, and that's when I met James Gunn. And now I'm really gonna cry.
What was the first thing? Who said what?
No, well, we met, and I read for him, and I could tell right away that he wanted me to be Drax, because he was really into it, and he directed me in a few different ways, and I could tell like we were already connecting. Like James and I connected really fast, and he's really. And I say this, and this kind of gives you an idea when I say, because of where I was at in my life, when I say that James Gunn changed the direction of my life, not just my career, and this is why I'm so loyal to him. But you're gonna get me emotional.
Sorry.
But anyway, so I met him. I connected with him right off the bat. But it was months of auditioning and chemistry test. It was finally the chemistry test that I had with Chris Pratt. And it wasn't planned. They said they just wanted to see us on camera together. And I think it's been online somewhere. Oh, really? But they threw us in front of a camera together. We didn't know each other, had never met each other, and we just clicked. Like I got him, he got me. It's so funny because Chris is actually a really big guy too. I don't think a lot of people realize how big he is, but they made him take his boots off so I would appear to be bigger. but
Chris, get on your knees.
And he like didn't have an issue with it. He was like, and he just, you know, I played to his strengths, he played to mine. I'm a good straight man, and he's funny and he's witty, he's sharp. So we just worked.
We cannot imagine anyone else in that role.
Thank you.
You were Drax.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Question over here.
Hi. So I was just wondering if you ever figured out why is Gamora?
I haven't figured out why is Gamora. Question for the ages, but I can tell you a funny story of how that happened. That because they were going back and forth, and Chris, it was actually Chris Pratt. He said, "You should have a line there," and I don't know what it is, but you should have a line there. And so I just started shouting out stuff. And that was the "Why is Gamora?" When I said, "Why is Gamora?" Tom Holland about fell out of his Spider-Man suit laughing. And I think we all knew that was the one. For some reason, it was just so absurd, just so ridiculous, ridiculous. But Tom Holland I'm pretty sure he peed himself. He laughed so, and every time I said it, he just fell out laughing. We're like, "Come on, kid." Like, we're trying to get through this scene. But yeah, I mean, so that was actually, I started throwing out stuff, but that line actually was originally Chris Pratt's idea.
In the middle here.
Hi, I've watched you since WWE, the earliest of it, and so I've always been a fan. So I had to know, like, if when you did make the transition into acting, did you have anybody anywhere in any of the films you've ever done, like, fanboy over you, like, "Oh, you're WWE, oh my God, you're Bautista"?
Pratt. No, it's funny. There's been people along the way, but Pratt, at first he didn't want to say that he was a big wrestling fan, but then he kind of came out and told me that he was a wrestling fan, and I didn't believe him. And so he posted this picture from years before we had this Batista towel.
Oh my God.
It was like Batista beach towel, and it was years old before we even met.
He was probably fanboying out at the audition, like, "Oh my God."
And it's so weird because so the first Guardians, we went to London to film that. And Pratt and I were staying very close to each other, and he didn't have anybody, and I didn't have anybody. We were just like two strangers in a foreign country. And eventually he moved out closer to the studio, and he really bonded with James, and they spent a lot of time together smoking cigars and being manly men. I don't do that stuff. You would look at me and think that I do, but I don't, not at all. I'm not that guy. But anyway, so we were just together all the time. We went out to eat and had stuff. We just hung out. And when we walked around London, because there's such a strong wrestling fan base there, I got recognized all the time. Wow. And Chris never got recognized. Yeah. And now, but then after the first Guardians came out, I mean, his stock just went, he's like he had 2 Twitter followers, and then he went from 2 Twitter followers to 20 million Twitter followers. But that's how that role changed his career. And he got shredded, and people realized that he was like a stud under all that baby fat.
Just here in the center here.
Hi. I was wondering, you've wrestled against both Triple H and Randy Orton and with them. What's your predictions for the new pay-per-view that's coming up on Friday with Randy Orton versus Triple H?
Oh, I don't care. Is that the Saudi thing? I don't care.
Because it's just for promotion, right?
I don't
It's
care.
just
I don't
for
get that
ratings.
whole thing, man. I don't get why they're going over there and wrestling. I don't know.
Next question.
Hi there, Mr. Bautista. I'm Jacob.
Hey, bud.
How has your career in the WWE helped your acting career?
Yeah.
And what are the major differences between the 2 art forms?
Oh God, it's it's apples and oranges. It's all entertainment, but it's weird. I think I always describe wrestling as a theater of violence because it is very much a theatrical performance. But acting is so intimate. It's so claustrophobic. It's so detailed and specific. But so wrestling didn't really prepare me for acting at all because that's what I thought. I thought it did prepare me. I thought I was ready. I've been on TV for 10 years. Of course I can act. And then I went and realized, no, I really can't act. I think, and that's what made me want to do it. But I think I can tell you what did help is there is a level of professionalism within the WWE that I haven't seen anywhere else. I mean, these guys, they just grind. I mean, they grind. It's just a hard knock life. And you're not pampered at all. And I've found that people really appreciate that when I go on the film sets because I think actors are used to being treated a certain way. And when I can do everything on my own and when I do, because there's sometimes, and it's an odd thing, and this is not across the board, but sometimes there's a really there's really I don't know, a separation between cast and crew. And with the WWE, there was none of that. We were all one big family. We were carnies. I mean, we were traveling together, putting on a show. And I think that people, they really appreciate that. And that's all my WWE background. And also the fan interaction, because it's the same thing. I think a lot of times with actors, they don't know how to interact with fans. They don't know that it's okay to interact with fans. And all WWE is interacting with fans. So I think I think that's how it helped prepare me. But as far as acting, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
Over here.
Okay. Mr. Bautista, so I have two questions about your wrestling career. What was your reaction when Creative told you about Evolution, that you were going to be in the team, and then when you were going to face Undertaker at WrestleMania 23?
Well, Evolution. It's funny because I was riding with Randy Orton at the time when we started hearing rumors about Evolution, and both of us were like so excited, but we would like try not to get too excited, but we were just hoping and hoping and hoping and praying. And then when it finally happened, it was like, it was crazy how, I can't explain like the electricity when they stuck the four of us together and how fans reacted to it. And I said something once. I did an episode of SmackDown 1000 that led to my whole retirement match. But I said something about that, about when the four of us were in the ring together. There's something really special about it, and I can't put my finger on what it was, but we just all had a chemistry and electricity that I think people just loved, and we loved it as well. The whole gimmick was just cool, and the music was cool, everything about it. It was a different era of wrestling too, and it's so anyway, it made my career. I mean, it made me, who I am as a WWE superstar, and also the amount of knowledge that I collected from Ric Flair and Triple H was priceless, and I knew that because that's what I needed. Because I was old to be going in the business, but I knew that I was going to have access to these guys, and that's what I needed. So that's I think sometimes they would almost get irritated because after shows we drive down the road, and I just drill them with question after question after question after question, because I was so obsessed with wrestling psychology. And I just wanted to understand the way fans and audiences reacted and how to get them to react. I mean, that's what I was obsessed with, the storytelling of professional wrestling. It really, to me, it's an art form. It's an art form that I'm afraid has been somewhat lost. But that's what it was. That access to those guys and their brains was what I was most excited about. And Undertaker, that was weird. That's the real me. Undertaker was when I was really coming into my own as a singles performer, and that match actually established me as a singles performer. That was the time in my career when I could make other guys look good, when I could put other guys, when I actually didn't need the title anymore. Because a lot of times they would use the title to get guys over. People look at, it's a perception thing. They see them, they have the title, they're the champion, they're the best. And people start to look at them, and that's what the company wants people to think. They're the best in the world. And at that time, I didn't need that title anymore. I could go out and people would cheer for me. I was good to go. I was solid, I was established, and I could build other champions. And that's what this business is about. It's a rotation thing. So you come, you do your thing, you get yourself over, and then you start to get other guys over, and that's how the business carries on. That's the tradition of professional wrestling. That's why I always wanted to go out on my back. It was really important to me that I carry on that tradition. You go out and you leave somebody else with the rub. That makes sense?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
You've spoken about your passion to direct. Can you give us a hint of the story that you'd like to tell, or one of the stories you'd like to tell?
It'll most likely be something really dramatic and depressing that nobody will go see.
Other than maybe a few people here.
Yeah. Because I don't want to do big stuff. I don't want to do action stuff. I'm more into performances, and I'm more into playing with emotion, and I'm more into storytelling, and I want to tell a story that would be meaningful. And a lot of times those meaningful stories are inspiring, but at the same time depressing.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Over here.
Hello, I am Brenda. My question is, whenever you were preparing for your role as Drax and you did all the research, was there any involvement with the autistic community to make Drax the way he was?
No, there wasn't. I didn't even, I never made the connection, to be honest with you. It was brought to my attention well after the first Guardians came out. And there was, somebody had written a letter, I think about their autistic child just really connecting with Drax. And I think that letter went viral, and that's when it was kind of brought to my attention that everybody I knew and their mothers family were sending me, that letter. And but I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I never made the connection. But and it's something that's it's weird. I feel at the same time I feel like really something about that really makes me feel great that I can kind of be that guy that. To make people feel like it's okay, to be a little awkward, to not just kind of process things the same way that most people do. But at the same time, it's I want to be worthy of that, and it's I hope that I can be. And I think a lot of people be surprised to find out that I have social anxiety really bad, and I think sometimes I don't process things the way most people do. But not to say that I'm autistic at all, but I can kind of relate to that somewhat, because people look at me and they have a perception of who I would be as a person, and I'm usually just not who they think I am. They are surprised to find out that I have stage fright and that I have social anxiety, and I'm like the most awkward person that you'll ever meet in your life.
That's why we love you so much, because we're all a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So, where can people find you on social media so they can watch the adventures of Dave?
Just Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista.
It's like
And
at Dave Bautista and
Dave
everything.
Bautista.
Yeah.
And where are you going to be today? Are you going back up to your table
I
now?
don't know. I didn't even know I had a panel. I think I'm just kind of, I come with Juliet, and she kind of shows me around, and I just follow her around. Yeah.
So you're going to catch him if you can, ladies and gentlemen.
I usually just know, I know what time my flight leaves.
Okay, good work. That's good. So I'm at Gigi Edgley on Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff. I'm going to be back up at my table at 3:45 to 7. You've been amazing. Thank you.